Hello and happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your half in, half out host, Mr. BoomStick XL. I'm still under the weather, folks. Mrs. Boom and I had one heck of a week, but I want to start off by saying a big thank you to the community wishing us well. It's we were sick pretty much the whole week. Didn't mention it, and then Wednesday night it got really bad, so that's why we went to the doctor on Thursday. We're gonna be okay. We just need some rest, and that's why we took off yesterday. But we're back, and we are ready to talk about gaming, and we have a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen. The topics we're going to be covering today is, of course, this new Magnus APU leak. Apparently, not only is the next Xbox going to be expensive, which we all kind of figured, it is the most powerful console that has ever released. The APUs that they're talking about in this leak come from Moore's Law is dead. He's the original poster on it. I say take it with an absolute ginormous grain of salt because just like many of the insiders and like even myself, we get it wrong probably more than we get it right because, of course, these are leaks. They are rumors. But I saw this reported upon by Pure Xbox. I saw it reported upon by Xbox Originals. And, of course, Colt Eastwood did a video. But we're going to be using the Xbox Originals posting because it's scaled down to a very small bullet point where it's understandable for me because I'm not a tech guy, but it does and will make everything a little bit more understandable on how expensive and how powerful this console is going to be. We're going to get into another story that has been running rampant, and that's with Rebs Gaming. Now, Rebs Gaming, if you don't know who he is a YouTuber that covers Halo. And there's been some people that had been with 343 and now Halo Studios for many, many years that have left. I have a theory on why they left and if that is a good thing, because there's, of course, a lot of negativity about what's going on at Halo Studios. Oh, no, should be worried about Halo. I have some thoughts. And again, it's just my personal opinion. And we're going to open up today's show, folks, with why the gaming community wants Xbox dead and buried. They want them removed from gaming. And we have a couple of quotes from some people that actually run PlayStation websites that know and are saying that if Xbox were to pick up and leave, it would be disastrous for the industry. And I absolutely agree. But hey, Korkenstein, what's up, brother? How are you feeling? Welcome.
Doing good, but excited for today. We are, let me make sure, 57 minutes till Battlefield 6 launch. So
There you go, brother.
I am a happy gamer for today. I even took today off. So I don't have to go in tonight. It's just going to be all Battlefield. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to do date night with the girlfriend, and then it's pretty much Battlefield all night. So I'm excited.
You, man. I mean, listen, that's what gaming's all about, right? When was the last time you and I love the story because I don't have to take off. I'm retired. Shh, don't tell nobody. But I used to be able to. Listen, folks. This is a true story. Back in the days when I used to do overtime, right? Some people were doing overtime to buy a new car, to go to Vegas, to go on a nice trip with their family. Not me. Anytime I was doing overtime, it was for games. And they used to make fun of me, the old timers. Like, look at this kid. He's a gay. He's Mr. Atari, right? They were so stupid. But that's how they used to make fun of me. And I actually used to work overtime to pay for gaming. And I used to, this is crazy, but maybe it's not. Anyone in the chat ever take their vacation around a game launching? I used to do it all the time. I used to be like, yeah, I mean, this is before I was obviously with Mrs. Boom, but obviously when I was with her, that things changed a little bit. But even then, I took weeks off to play something like an import version of, I don't know, Resident Evil 3 or something. And people are like, what is this kid gonna go do? Wait by the dock as the thing comes in? It was so stupid. But yeah, good story, brother. And hopefully you guys are getting a laugh out of mine because I used to be that nerd, that guy. Look at that guy over there. He plays video games. Now, I put it to this way, I made it cool and I took all the arrows for all the rookies back then. Now, if you don't play games as a cop, you're weird. So shout out to all the weirdos out there. But Crispy Bond, what's going on, brother? How you feeling, man? Welcome back.
Yeah, great to be here. Mine was Gears 3. Definitely midnight launch. Took a whole week off and just went ham on that. So yeah, but
Oh,
it's great
great.
to be here. Xbox, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
How many times am I going to hear it at this point? But yeah, there's some interesting people that have said some pretty logical things, surprisingly, and we're going to get into it.
Yeah, we are. And again, the people that we're going to be bringing into the conversation are actual PlayStation websites, folks. And yeah, we're going to get into it. But hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, good morning, brother. How you feeling? Welcome back.
Good morning. Glad to be here with you guys. Sorry about mute and everything, but
That's all right.
yeah, it's been weird on social media. I'm pretty sure we'll get into some of those PlayStation sites, but I one of them I still don't trust because of the previous generation launch stuff with the RDNA 3 when RDNA 2 was just being wrapped up kind of
Yes.
thing. But all in all, we knew Xbox was going to make another console and that their partnership with AMD was going to, bear some fruit. So yeah, we're going to have some interesting stuff to get into. But yeah, I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
Well, you know what, folks? Let's get right into why the games community wants Xbox dead. This has been a running narrative, and this is not anything new, right? Like, you can go all the way back to the original Xbox, and obviously, it was it was something new for Microsoft. It was a new competitor in the space that was run by Sega, which when Sega was running strong with their with Dreamcast, of course. Nintendo was always going to be there, and PlayStation had put out the PlayStation 1, and then obviously, just look at history, folks. It's the PlayStation has been a major part of gaming for decades, and they continue to be the market leader with console sales, and they are doing some different things that they haven't done in the past. Kind of what Xbox did to get all the arrows, but one of the most interesting thoughts and theories with gaming today, we're talking about like today's gaming, is when you go to social media. First of all, it's not real. Let's be clear. I'm going to pull a Paris Lily quote right out of my back pocket. So Paris, if you listen, shout out to you, brother. Um, the internet isn't real, folks. It's real that it exists, but it's an echo chamber for hate mongering POSs. And they're mad at the world for one reason or another, whether that's their life choices or just the way the life has been dealt to them. They're going to yell. And in being angry at the world, when you get into talking about video games, that is now taken and used for hate engagement. Unfortunately, in social media is a thing, and in games media, it is something that generates a lot of clicks, which generates a lot of money, and that's ultimately what the business is, and it's sad. But why I wanted to talk about this is for two reasons. First of all, is the hate that Xbox is currently under, or the scrutiny that Xbox is under, warranted? The answer is yes. They have done some real stupid shit, folks. That's the most barbaric and best way I can say it. The price increase of Game Pass, in my opinion, was $5 too much. I've been banging the drum against it since it was announced. The rise of the console pricing was ridiculous, considering that they weren't selling consoles at the other price. What makes you think you're going to sell consoles, at the new price, which are high? And then, of course, your mileage is going to vary based on the third party adjustment, meaning that they're putting games on PlayStation and eventually Nintendo. I mean, I've come to accept it, like Dirt Griggity and many of the Xbox purists, and there are some that refuse to accept it, and that's fine. And a lot of the things that Xbox has done right are completely overshadowed by the few things that they've done wrong. And again, we're not here to defend the $4 trillion company, folks. What we're trying to get at is why there's such a unbelievable negativity towards the brand. I mean, they have been doing things for its consumers positively for years. And yes, do I think that that was a bonehead move to raise Game Pass? 1,000%. No one's even questioning that. But the reason why I bring up this topic today is because it's a hot button topic. And I'm gonna bring up two people specifically. Well, Jez Corden of Windows Central, who's a good friend of the show, great friend of the community, and one half of the Xbox 2 podcast, has had his pulse on the gaming aspect when it comes to hate narratives, focusing in on Xbox. He wrote an article, and Windows Central on Twitter posted, Xbox's negativity has reached new heights not seen since 2013. Is it all worth it? Microsoft ? Now, granted, it is an opinion piece, ladies and gentlemen, and he does ask a pretty interesting question to open up as the title. In its quest for infinite money, Xbox has alienated its fans and everything it once was. Will it even be worth it in the end? Microsoft. And he goes into saying, the subquoting here, Microsoft, let me see. If you're an Xbox fan, the past couple of weeks have felt more dire than usual. There's a meme in the Xbox community which runs along the lines of Xbox is dead, and then followed by Xbox is back, flipping backwards and forwards as Xbox does both positive things and creates positive momentum, and then steps on a rake and thwarts everything it's built. And unfortunately, that is really the running narrative. Now, again, I think they've done way more positive than they've done negative. I think there are still a lot of people that have this hate narrative mentality about Xbox Game Pass. They don't like it because their brand of choice isn't doing it, and if they are, it's subtle at best. Like if you look at what PlayStation is doing now this month, they have a great lineup for PlayStation Plus. I mean, a phenomenal lineup, as a matter of fact. That should be every month. Now, Xbox has been delivering that, pretty much every month. And we saw what games are coming out for October. And that list is stacked, and 3 of them are brand new first party games, right? So they're doing it right. But then they do bonehead moves that make you scratch your head, like, I don't understand why. But I want to bring into the conversation, outside of the Jez Corden article, Derek Strickland. Now, why I bring up Derek Strickland is because if you don't know who he is the owner and operator of Tweaktown, which is what, ladies and gentlemen? A PlayStation-focused site, meaning that they are for the PlayStation players. And even though Derek and I will never agree on everything, I got to give him credit for what he said here. This is probably going to go down, at least in my opinion, as many articles as I read, one of the most pointed and great way of looking at the overall big picture of gaming that he has written in a very, very long time. So I want to read it verbatim, folks. Now, the reason why I'm reading this one specifically is because there's a call for Xbox to get out of the industry. I think it would be disastrous. If you just left Sony and Nintendo in charge of the industry and there was no Xbox to keep them in check, it would be $100 games at the minimum, and Microsoft, you are wrong. But here's what Derek Strickland had to say, folks. I'm going to read it verbatim from his post from last night. Derek goes on to say this: Xbox exiting gaming world or gaming would have such an enormously negative drag effect on the industry that it would upend the entire thing. Y'all still don't understand how big Xbox is on a software and services level. It's fine to criticize, but don't call for the destruction of your hobby. And I mean, and so of course, he's getting a lot of slack from people because they're like, oh, wait, you're a PlayStation guy, you're defending Xbox. Well, he did respond to it, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what Derek had to say. And I mean a sudden, abrupt stoppage where Xbox just shuts down. They're a member of the big 3. They broker and facilitate billion-dollar deals all the time. They control the taps of many services and host a storefront. Xbox has its hooks into all platforms. It'll be bad if they go. And he goes on to say this: the childish engagement bait nonsense just creates a loop and no one really learns anything. I mean, again, folks, you may not appreciate what Derek said there, but I think he's on point. Now, granted, it is an elseworlds kind of a conversation because Xbox isn't going anywhere. I mean, they just spent, nearly $80 billion on Activision, right? We know that they're making money hand over fist, so they're not going anywhere. But there is a sentiment, Korkenstein, that suggests that Xbox should go away, and it's one that's not only foolish, but it's silly. And when you look at again, just taking a step back and looking at the overall picture, Xbox is as important as PlayStation, and PlayStation is as important as Nintendo, and the circle just goes round and round. Now you throw PC in there because PC is always going to be there. It has always been there, and for a lot of people, it's where most people game. But to see one be removed, or the suggestion of it, I think is not only silly but foolhardy. Let's get your thoughts on it, man.
Yeah, hold on. I gotta get my evil my dark hoodie on here real quick. There we go. My Sith hoodie. Let the hate flow through you. Like Emperor Palpatine. It's just silly, man. Like, I don't know why people want to have like such hate for a brand. Like, we're consumers, and we're gamers, and like when you said it earlier, I kind of disagreed with it because like nobody deserves hate, man. Like, like nobody deserves hate for something that's supposed to bring people together, and we're supposed to have fun, and we're supposed to enjoy this and have conversations. And I think that's the big issue and the big problem here that we have in the gaming sphere is that people just want to hate. They want to be angry. Yeah. And they want to lash out at the smallest little things. It's video games, guys. This shit's not that serious. It really isn't. And that's my biggest issue. And it's like, as I've always, wanted to do more as a content creator, but it's so frustrating because it's so discouraging because nobody really wants to have conversations, like discussions. Like when I came on, when we did the whole breaking special thing, people were just angry for no reason. Like, I was trying to explain and have a discussion and see the value in something to understand. Because that's always been one of my biggest things. Seek first to understand before being understood. And that's something I've always lived by, and I always try to incorporate. And like, I was just trying to see like, well, this has value to me. I know it won't have value to this person. And I can see, and just to have an honest conversation rather than saying, boo Xbox, boo Microsoft, they suck. But and I got so much hate for it just trying to have a conversation. And that's the issue. And that's why I'm so happy that there's people like you, like Umbra, Crispy, Fuzzy. We have great community people like WebDave, Hargeet, Dirt, Paris in the chat. It's probably one of the best that actually wants to discuss and have conversations on this stuff, rather than just hate. And I have no idea why people want Xbox gone, because Derek's right. And I've this is probably the first time I've ever agreed with him. It would destroy the gaming ecosystem. People don't realize that. You guys are pissed that Game Pass that's giving you you guys are pissed that Game Pass is going to give you, or is raising the price $30, and they're going to give you 75 games. You get access to 500 titles at all. You're going to get first party things. You're going to get so much for $30. If you're pissed at that, wait until Xbox leaves the space and you're looking at $2,000 PlayStation consoles, $120 Switch exclusive titles. There's going to be really nobody to kind of hold people back to like keep that expectation, because they all need each other. There's a synergy there, and they all fight for for your value, for your time. And the less that are there to fight for your time, the more that they can control you and your wallet for this gaming hobby that you love, that you're passionate about. That's horrible. You guys don't want that reality. You really do not want Xbox to leave the ecosystem, because right now, and yes, they did raise the prices a bit. Everywhere's raising the prices. Oh, they closed studios. Guess what? Numerous studios are closing. Is that Xbox's fault? You get people that are being laid off. It's sad. Everywhere right now it's happening. It's just because of the way the economy is shifting and how the industry is changing. They've ballooned their budget so much trying to make these crazy Hollywood blockbuster AAA games, and it doesn't pan out. They don't see the return of investment, or if they do, their margins are single digits. That's horrible for them. So they got to find ways to adjust, to adapt. And as consumers, we're not going to like that. But this is a corp company. We're not supposed to like companies. Companies aren't our friends. Yeah, I got some pretty cool people that, you know, I like to talk to that work at Xbox. I see them every year when we come to LA. We all hang out. It's fun and stuff like that. But, you know, it's cool but I wouldn't say that they're my friends or that they have my best interests as a company. No, you know, they're friends, but that's it. I don't really see, you know, a company's not going to have your best interest. They're going to be for them, and that's how every company runs. So you can be as mad as you want at Xbox for doing this, but they're not there for your benefit in that sense. Yes, they are there for you to buy and consume their product, but they're not going to go out of their way and lose money to be your friend. And that's, no company's going to do that, and no company's going to shoot themselves in the foot and lose money because they want to be liked. I guess, I don't know. It's just weird. This parasocial kind of, or this, I don't know what it is, where people feel like companies owe them something, and they really don't. The companies don't owe us anything other than to deliver a product that they're saying they're going to deliver. Now, if we pay for something and they're not doing that, then that's where we can hold their feet to the fire. But in the sense, companies aren't here for us. They're here to line their own pockets. And that's, once we kind of realize, and once we take away that, listen, we're consumers. We're not businessmen. We're not sitting in the seat making these decisions and getting that, you know, $30 million a year paycheck. You know, that's not us. We're consumers, and we got to remember that when we talk about this stuff, and we got to start having more discussions. But yeah, that's for me. Xbox doesn't need to leave the space. If they did, it would be horrible for the industry.
I absolutely agree. You know what? I want to shout out Paris Lilly, who I mentioned his name 3 times, and well, folks, he showed up. I want to throw his quote on there. Spewing hate is easy. Takes effort to have a reasonable conversation, end quote. And he's 1,000% right. Unfortunately, Paris, you know, had some very public shenanigans thrown against him by a former Xbox fan. And I know that he jumped onto Dirt's show and kind of broke down what was going on there. So shout out to you, Paris. Even Danny Pena, you know, getting hate from people for being invited to Obsidian to get a couple of hours worth of hands-on. Folks, that's called hard work. You know, I find myself in, unfortunately, the crosshairs of the hate-mongering POSs, but, you know, you put them on the pain of mind list. You know, there's nothing they're going to say that's going to make me stop being a podcaster. And unfortunately, you know, when you start getting recognized by companies like we have through Microsoft and Xbox, and you do get invited to do things with them, the hating community that doesn't or will never get invited will continue to just, you know, say, you know, spontaneous nonsense. But Crispy Bomb, Mr. Receipt Keeper, you know, Xbox going away, I think, like Cork said, and like Derek Strickland said from Tweaktown, would be disastrous for the industry. I don't really think that the 4% of hardcore gamers that make up the space, especially on the PlayStation side of things, are going to force the narrative. But it is a narrative nonetheless. And again, as much silly things or boneheaded things Xbox has done to kind of shoot themselves in the foot or step on a rake, I can honestly say they've done more for the industry than ever before. I really do think that they keep the Nintendos and the PlayStations in check, because if they weren't there, we would have $100 games already. I mean, look, we started off this year with the Switch 2 and the first $80 game. And, you know, obviously, you know, Xbox kind of started to move, realized it was a mistake, then backed off. Now, are we ever going to get to $80 games? At some point, probably. Grand Theft Auto is going to be $100. That is going to be the first $100 game next year. I don't doubt that at all. And then when it hits $100, well, you know, there you go. But I want to get your thoughts on this, because again, you know, when you have people that have actual websites or work for a website like a Jez Corden or a Derek Strickland, and you start to see other places like Pure Xbox and other websites pick up these stories about the generated hate narrative towards Xbox and why they should leave the console business, you realize that it's a conversation that might seem elseworlds for sure, Crispy, but it's one that is actually happening, and it's happening in a way where there are sites reporting on it. I want to get your thoughts on this, man.
Well, let's think about this, okay? Xbox has innovated. Who has Game Pass? Xbox.
Yep.
Does Sony have the exact equivalent? Do they give you their day-and-date games? No, they don't. They have a service that does not technically compete with Game Pass. Regardless of my complete and total disdain for a 50% price increase, does not mean that you can't understand that if all these other companies aren't going to do it, Microsoft's going to look at that said thing and say, well, we're the only one, so why can't we raise the price? And this is where the competition argument comes into effect. Okay? You look at it, if Sony was the only we'll say AAA, modern gaming developer and the only one that brought out hardware, they would charge you more. So to act like Xbox doesn't have a place here, you're crazy. And just think about in the past of their R&D and what they have developed. And you could just look at Xbox Live and what it has become and how other gaming companies had to follow it. You got to realize that they are not ever going to stop trying to innovate, and they are going to take every single rocket ship and just just stone or whatever you want to call it in the head and just continue to do things that most people will say, oh, it's going to kill gaming, oh, it's going to do this, it's gonna hurt us as consumers. Well, these people that are doing these arguments are the same people that were screaming competition before when we were buying ABK. So what are we talking about here? I don't understand how these narratives continue, yet you can look back at these said people and they are screaming the same things that they all of a sudden want now. And I think people need to realize that even if, like, let's say it was Nintendo, which has their own way of doing things, and they were the only ones, it would be even probably worse, and they would charge even more. And that's where I say, like, if you look at their services in general, they don't charge a lot for them because there ain't much there. All right. So you got to look at that and say they release games that are great, but they charge a little, like, what is it, like $50 to be on their online, because there's not much there. They have not wanted to innovate. They haven't had the need. That has been their focus is services and how you can connect with people and things like that. Sony's somewhere in the middle there. I mean, a lot of people say that, hey, there's a lot of single player games. We don't have a lot of conversations, stuff like that. But at the same time, that's the exact opposite on Xbox. There's a place for a multiplayer gamer to really have a lot of engagement. And I think if you take that away, what are you going to get? You're going to get the bare minimum from some of these companies. And they're going to save face and save cost and look at it and say, well, we don't need to do that now. So it's just a hypocritical thought process to just say, Xbox, be done, we're done. And at the same time, look at it and say, but you can't purchase these developers. You can't do this and that because it's going to hurt competition. You can't have it both ways, people. You can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. And in realism, I'll never understand it. But hey, I look at some of these receipts and I'm like, yeah, just have an argument with me and I'll show you type thing. But that's the way I look at it.
No, it's a phenomenal point of view. Hectic World in the chat said Microsoft did not step on a rake. They stopped losing money. Simple. And, look, Fuzzy, outside of the conversation of Xbox should be done, what I'm seeing from a lot of the very vocal trolls, and again, there are a couple that I and again, we don't do the names thing here, folks, because I'm not about that smoke. It's fine. But the outside of Xbox should be gone narrative is when you have someone like myself. I'm going to put myself on the front line here, like I always do, right? Your Honor, I'll go to the stand, right? It's no problem. I asked a question the other day where it was very simplistic in its nature. Can Xbox players still be excited about the brand? And some of the responses that I got were as barbaric as you would expect, which we won't, reread live on the air, and we won't say who it is because you don't want to give these trolls any clout. They're trolls. No one cares about them. Go under your bridge and sleep. No one cares. But I'm still excited about being an Xbox fan. I think there is a lot of reasons to be excited about being an Xbox fan. And again, I don't want to keep beating and reiterating, but yes, I am against any price increase to Game Pass. And I think it was a mistake, but it's done. And there are ways for you to still fix that. I just bought 6 months worth of cards for $56 each on Amazon, and they're still on sale. So if you are someone like me who waits to 33 months and then re-ups, so I'm always at 36 months at one time or another, you're a winner, chicken dinner. But the idea that you are quote unquote capping for the $4 trillion company because you're a fan of the brand is another most ridiculous narrative. And ultimately, it's sad. The people that I have gone back and forth with, and I don't go back and forth with, I'll make my post. I might, answer, just for a general conversation. And after that, I just either block them or mute them because they're not really here to have a conversation. Like Paris said, it's very easy to be a hateful piece of shit, but it's very difficult to actually sit down and have a thought out conversation. Unfortunately, that is the 4%ers of the interwebs that are on here claiming that Xbox should go, or that anyone that is an Xbox fan that still is excited to be an Xbox fan is quote unquote capping. Let's get your thoughts on this, man.
I'll try to keep this as quick as possible. Just a brief history of my PlayStation to Xbox transition. I went from PS1 to PC because of a game I saw on my brother's PC. I was like, screw consoles, PC is where it's at. And then Microsoft, this is before the Xbox, the original Xbox or 360 came about. PC gaming was great under Windows 98. And then Windows ME happened. And it was completely terrible as far as gaming. You had to go back in, even if you had the pro version of ME or whatever it was called, like the enterprise version, it was still terrible as far as a lot of things when it came to allocating resources for the computer and so forth. So when I heard that they were making an Xbox, I was like, how can this company that's terrible at gaming for PC, they're great as far as if you want to do spreadsheets, but terrible for gaming on PC, despite, Flight Sim and other things that they've done, why would I ever bother with that? So Windows XP came out. It was great. Windows Vista, at least for me, because I was still rocking a Voodoo card at that point, was terrible. They wanted basically the software was pushing everybody or nudging everybody to upgrade their PCs to the latest and greatest. I thought it was a terrible idea. I didn't want to bother with Microsoft, so I completely ignored or skipped over the Xbox because of that. Microsoft was the bad guy in my eyes, so a console was not on my list. And then I saw that when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and I PS3, I was one of the knuckleheads that, I only had one job, but I bought a PS3 nonetheless. And despite all of the bad press that they got and everything, enjoyed it until I saw what the Grand Theft Auto 5 looked like on a 360 compared to the PS3. If you've ever noticed, like on Grand Theft Auto, the sailboats on 360, they had actual sails. The flag poles and things like that you saw in the game had blowing flags in the wind. It wasn't like that on the PS3. It wasn't like that on the PS3, or they didn't get an update until actually Grand Theft Auto 5 came out on the PS4. Then there was like a backwards update or something. But for the longest time, there were things literally missing from the game. So I was close to getting the Xbox, but because of them saying, "Oh, well, the PS4 is right around the corner," well, I just went and ordered a PS4 instead of bothering with a 360. Jump a year ahead, Drive Club comes out after being delayed. It was supposed to be a launch title. It comes out broken. It was supposed to be the Forza killer. It was terrible at launch for the online, which the online was the biggest component of it. So that automatically made me look over at Xbox and see what this Forza killer was supposedly killing. And I've been happy over at the Xbox camp ever since. It's as far as people wanting Xbox to get out of the game, we've seen how, and we've even heard the rumors of how PlayStation wanted to do $80 games instead of 70. And it was kind of like the EA and Take-Two execs that kind of talked them off that ledge kind of deal. We're going to eventually get to $80 games, and I'm not looking forward to it, but it is what it is. I'll just be more careful or choosy on which games I get day one as opposed to wait for a sale. But if Xbox as a brand goes out, you can guarantee that hardware will see increases. Like even as it stands, there's hardware increases on the other camps. So imagine having one less competitor. That's one less person holding their feet to the fire or quote unquote keeping them honest when it comes to pricing. And no, I'm not talking about price fixing or anything along those lines. I'm talking about just like Korkenstein said, they're competing for our dollars. So if somebody is keeping a reasonable price point for the tech or the hardware that they're offering, the others have to kind of stay in line with that. The minute one of them decides that, oh, well, I'm just going to double my price or increase it $100, and the others don't necessarily do the same, that one that increases price is probably going to take a big hit in loss of sales. But they're all raising prices because of economic things that we can see or hear or experience directly, whether you go to the grocery stores, a car dealer, or to a Starbucks. It doesn't matter. Everything is going up, and it's outpacing the money coming in kind of thing. All of that being said, Xbox really should stay in, considering they are finally now getting to a cadence where they're releasing games on a regular basis and they're of quality. I know a lot of people will say, well, they're not quite the quality. No. Depending on the types of games you like, if you like RPGs, Xbox has a lot of them coming your way and they're of quality. I know there are other quality RPGs out there. Some of them tend to do a little bit better on PC, like your Kingdom Come Deliverances, because of the extreme depth and length of that game that you can get involved in. But those are still available on console if you choose to play it there. But for those that just want Xbox to go away, it almost feels like the 80s and 90s again. Being the car enthusiast I am, seeing how American cars were crapped on, and rightfully so after the 70s and 80s, where everything was the same body, just a different nose on it. Oh, it's a Pontiac with a Chevy, grill on it or something. It was ridiculous in that regard for GM and some of the others where they just rebadge cars for the heck of it. The most funny one to me was the Chevy Cavalier and the Cadillac, I think it was the Cimarron. Who would buy a Cadillac that's a Cavalier kind of thing? But they offered it, and that's what got their bad reputation to where Honda and Toyota and some of the other imports from Germany came in and took their lunch. And it took a while for them to even get their reputation back to where American buyers were willing to buy those vehicles. All the while, the import companies were now building some of the cars in the States. So we saw things like Buick with the JD Power Associates Awards eventually, take the quality titles from Toyotas and Honda. But there's still a bit of a stigma where, oh, well, that Toyota lasts forever. But if you've been looking at recalls and things like that, and it's no knock to Toyota, at some point, some companies get so big so fast to the point where they have to churn out things sooner and do maybe a little less R&D or testing, that you're seeing a lot of the engine failures or transmission failures. Some of it could be user error. Some could be this devious plan to say, hey, you don't have to change your oil, but every 10,000 miles. Maybe the car enthusiast, the heck with that stuff. It's like, if it's not 3,000 to 5,000 miles, anything longer, you're just asking for trouble. That they basically want the car to last until the warranty expires kind of thing. But that's nor here nor there. Just think of it this way. Xbox gets out of the game, then you only have a couple of options. And those couple of options will probably do similar things in pushing you more towards an online deal because they make more profits on software and streaming than they ever will on hardware. And yes, they're making profits now, but if you could do less R&D, less investment, less partnering with AMD and having to deal with, let's say, extreme costs as far as tariffs until there's, production here stateside, I think a lot of them are going to start moving in that direction. Now, is there infrastructure intact for that right now as far as streaming? Probably not, and it probably won't be that way for some time. But just take into account that the more players on the field, the better it is for us, the consumer, because we have more options to choose from, as well as they have to be at least somewhat competitive on pricing, which will help our wallets in the long run. Because I'm not looking forward to $100 game, whether it's Grand Theft Auto that is the first one to claim that title, or somebody else, or maybe they just completely give away or go away from you owning the game and you subscribe to something like GTA, much like WoW, like World of Warcraft. You're basically trapped into a subscription to play it. Same thing with Final Fantasy. Once you get past the first 20 hours or so, I believe. And there's a few others that have it where you're only on a subscription. I mean, one of the big things that I like to do is racing games, and iRacing has turned what used to be, you buy the game, you can mod the game, you continuously play the game. No, they want it where it's a subscription. I'm kind of surprised Madden and 2K haven't tried the same thing, where you pay a monthly fee to always play this online deal. But we'll see where the industry takes us. But Xbox needs to stay just for the fact that more options, more choice. And it feels like this disingenuous, wanting them to exit, but yet wanting their games is like a contradiction of the century kind of deal. Like, you hate them, but you love their games. You don't want their box to exist, but you want their software on your preferred box. Is it this that you don't want to buy another box? Or is it that you don't want others to be able to enjoy it before it comes over to your platform, as far as this time exclusivity type of approach? But I've rambled enough. It's a silly argument to want Xbox to leave.
Well, you know what? Great points all around so far. And yes, Xbox isn't going anywhere. Again, this is an Elseworlds conversation, but it is a conversation nonetheless. And I want to bring Infinite Umbra in on this conversation. Infinite Umbra, on Fuzzy's way out of his thoughts, he made mention of one company doing things that the other company isn't. And when you look at what Derek Strickland said, I'm going to read it verbatim again. Derek Strickland, who of course is the operator and owner of Tweaktown, said Xbox exiting gaming would have such an enormously negative drag effect on the industry that it would upend the entire thing. Y'all still don't understand how big Xbox is on a software and services level. It's fine to criticize, but don't call for the destruction of your hobby. And I want to add some additional points to what Derek had to say. When you look at what Xbox is doing right, value. Now, that's a proposition that is up in the air. Some people feel that the increase in Game Pass is not valuable. And if you do, you can either stop the service, like many people have, or you can drop down to a lower tier, which I would not do, right? But when you hear some of the bigger naysayers of Xbox, who are just trolls looking for engagement, they'll say that their platform of choice is better. But they look at Xbox, and I think a lot of the Xbox has got to get out of here is because Xbox is doing things with their services that the other guys aren't. Like the Game Pass, yes, it went up. Yes, that sucks. But it's day-and-day games. And is Sony doing that? The answer is no. Would Sony be one of the first to charge you $100 for a game that's not 2K? Yes, if they could, they would. And I think the reason why they haven't is because of everyone else. When you hear stories or you read stories being posted by Derek Strickland or by Pure Xbox or even Jez Corden of Windows Central asking why is there such a ginormous hate narrative towards Xbox, you realize that it is not just as simple as the Xbox tax, which I still believe exists and other people's don't, and that's fine. But this is a perfect example of it actually existing because people want the brand gone. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, first off, good morning to you all. Morning, Boom. Morning, Corkenstein.
Morning, sir.
Steinenstein.
Morning,
Crispy
brother.
Bob. What's up, brother? And what's up, Fuzzy, my brother? Good morning, chat. Yeah, the Xbox tax definitely exists. I don't know why it's such a controversial thing for people. I feel like people feel like they have to deny it to sound like I'm different from them. I'm not going to believe those theories, right? The conspiracy theories. Well, my coffee, my as my borrowed Keosanti and Everborn's aluminum kufi right now. So I'll just say what it is. It's not the typical, it's some cabal thing. That's not what the Xbox tax is. The Xbox tax is a bias, right? And it's an unconscious bias a lot of times. That's just what it is. And we saw it. We all saw it if you were ever paying attention when Microsoft first entered into gaming. There was this you don't belong here mentality.
You're not one of us mentality.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess to borrow from the great legendary poet Kendrick Lamar, you're not like us. They not like us, and this to be much more clear. But I think there is a tax in the sense of, like I said, bias, a prejudice, right? And we've seen it bear out. I've been before I ever joined Twitter, I was on different websites, be it GameFAQs, be it NeoGAF, the horrible site that is, to Reset Era, another horrible site. And that mentality is all there, right? They're in all those places. Is very much a us versus them mentality. And like you don't belong. That's what Microsoft has always gotten. So when Microsoft makes any missteps, such as what people perceive as a misstep with the price raise or hike with Game Pass, you best believe these people who base their identities on these platforms will absolutely pounce on them, and that's what that is. It's going to go away after a while, or at least it'll subside. I don't want to say go away. It'll subside after a while. Microsoft is just going to have to deliver, right? That's every time, if you notice, when there is this surge of hate toward Xbox, when they deliver, that kind of subsides, right? Even the haters eventually have to, move on to a new narrative, right? And that's really what it comes down to. This $30 price tag thing is going to linger over them for a while until they start delivering heavy games next year, right? Like we're already guaranteed 3 or 4 more games this year from them, first party or second party, whatever you want to call it. But next year, the idea is you're supposed to get 75 games with Ultimate Tier. If they can deliver some high quality third party games, as we talked about before, Boom. And I'm not talking about like I said before, Pock Rocket 3. Which, by the way, there was a game launched on it, by the way, the other day that was close to that name. I laughed really hard when I saw it. I forgot what it was. It was something Pock something. I was like, you know what?
That exists.
I forgot what it was, but I saw it the other day. Shout out to our brother Idle Sloth. He was posted in some stuff, and I saw it. I'm like, that looks awful. Did I speak this into existence? Anyway, all of that said, when they start delivering heavy, and Snakebite 3, that's right, Thanos. I forgot about Snakebite 3. But if they deliver some heavy third-party games along with first-party next year, which we expecting some great first-party next year, right? I don't think 2025 is some fluke. I think this is going to continue as long as they can continue giving them. He said, "Pot Rocket is fire." But as long as they can continue delivering like quality, they've been somebody I was debating with them back and forth, and Cork knows. We were going back and forth, and they're like, "Oh, Xbox didn't deliver." Like, what are you talking about? All they did was deliver this year.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you need to see from them? Like, what are you talking about? The only thing you can really be upset with is, you're being displeased on how they've moved their businesses, decisions, like as far as being a third-party publisher and things like that. A lot of people still take umbrage with that. No pun intended when I say that. But so like they take umbrage with that and they put that off on, well, they're not making the right moves. No, they're making the right moves, just not the moves you would desire, right? And again, that brings a lot of distrust. It brings a lot of ire, and because people Satnam said infinite umbrage, that brings a lot of that because most gamers, I would imagine, at least most hardcore, we are traditionalists, right? We it's hard for some people to adapt and move and understand where Microsoft is going, but Microsoft has always been kind of future forward. And if you're really paying attention, and sometimes to their detriment, as we've seen, right? The whole DRM situation, or excuse me, I said it right, DRM situation and fiasco. Sony was about to do it too, and it was actually going to be more beneficial for us when they did it, because I believe it was going to be like something ridiculous, like 5 or 6 people being able to be like on the Game Pass or something, like on a game with something. I forgot how it went at the time. My mind is fuzzy right now. No Belvedere. But yeah, I had to do it, fuzzy. I had to. But
untotally intended, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm scattered right now because I'm trying to make sure I don't go to sleep and people start calling me infinite slumber. But yeah, like seriously, like there are a lot of things that Microsoft has done where they've moved forward, I think, before gamers were ready to move that way, and I think that's sometimes come back to bite them. Sometimes it's going. I mean, the whole TV thing, right? That still haunts them, even though you look at it now, and that's you got these platforms used as that. I see people sometimes on Xbox, or I would have said PlayStation, but I ain't turned that thing on in so long. But Xbox, you look on there and you'll see people like, I'm watching YouTube. Heck, almost every other time I turn on, I see Hargeet on YouTube. I'm like, do you play, or you watching somebody play? But I'm saying all that to say, like, people do use this now for what Microsoft originally said that they would use it for now. So like, but they got punished for it before, so I think that sometimes comes back to bite them. But if Microsoft can stem the tide of this and continue to deliver going into the future, Thriller, he said I got the deep Barry White going right now. But yeah, like as long as they can continue to deliver when it comes to that, a lot of this will subside. This right here is just it's the latest it's the latest thing for people right now who have a little ammo now because Microsoft introduced these new prices, right? Or at least a new price, I should say, for Ultimate, and it's something they can easily bag them with. Right now, they can easily use Lena Khan, and I saw some people like, oh, thank you, we should have listened to you, and I've seen all those things. You were right all along, Queen. And that other lady with what's that blonde lady with the former Microsoft employee that has video?
Laura Fryer.
Yeah,
Laura Fryer.
Yeah.
And people doing, I've seen people, it's easy to go to them like, yeah, see, we've been saying it all along, Xbox. See, now they're saying it too. It's like, it's easy to use that, right? So once that they actually deliver, a lot of that will subside. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. It's it comes with the territory, fellas. It comes with we are all seasoned bots in here. Like we're well past. We're war trained. It's just something we're going to have to endure, and Microsoft is going to have to deliver. If they don't deliver, then hey, let them get the smoke. But yes. I think they will.
Well, I mean, listen, this was a great opening salvo, folks, and we actually have 2 more topics, but we're going to get into one. The Halo conversation. I'm going to see if I can get Rebs to join us next week. He's the one that broke the story on what's going on with Halo Studios. I did want to get to it, but we have a monster-sized panel, and I want to get into the hardware and some of the information that's coming out regarding this new leak. So we'll move that to next week. And I'm going to have Rebs Gaming on to actually report on it because he is talking with people, both former and current Halo Studio employees. Of course, it's going to be off the record, but I'd like to get him on so he can give us the skinny on what is actually happening. Because, again, it's one of those stories that does have a negative shine on it. And it's, a lot of people who are purists for Halo like me have concerns, but I also have some additional theories I want to run past Rebs before I say him publicly, get his thoughts on it. And then we'll have that conversation next week. But I do want to catch up on Super Chats. And then we're going to get into the new Magnus APU leaks, folks. Look, if you want more power and you were wondering what Sarah Bond was talking about a couple of years ago when it was last year in their business meeting where she specifically talked about how powerful the next generation of consoles is going to be. Get ready for this one, folks, because not only is it going to be powerful, it's going to also be expensive. But let me catch up on Super Chats, and then we will get to that topic. So the first one of the day comes the way of Cheese is Nasty. What's going on, brother? He drops a very generous $10 Super Chat. That's very generous of you, brother. Thank you so much for starting us off on the right foot. He says, got a big bonus today from my job. Well, congratulations on that, brother. He says, picked up my Cybertruck last week. Life is good. Used my wife's credit card to get the snacks and Mountain Dew for Battlefield 6. Got some steaks on the grill. Love the show. Brother, you sound like you're going to have one heck of a holiday weekend. And yes, Battlefield is coming out today, and a lot of people are going to be playing it. I am playing as the Predator, and my first game yesterday, I went 56-13, ladies and gentlemen. And the old man was putting them down as quickly as they were spawning. And I absolutely loved it. So Call of Duty has all of their Halloween stuff out right now. Battlefield 6, a lot of people are going to be playing. I cannot wait to see what people think about it. And shout out to you, Cheese is Nasty, for the very generous $10 Super Chat. Have a great weekend, brother. Sir X-Man, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 Super Chat. Says Boomstick all about Battlefield 6 today, the GOATs. And he gives us the fire sign. Yeah, I know you're going to enjoy it, brother. Again, I'm not as excited as I am for Black Ops 7, and I'm certainly not excited for Battlefield 6 when I'm playing Black Ops 6 right now. It's just I'm having a lot of fun with the new skins, and I want to kind of get all of them. So I'm probably going to play that most of the weekend. But if you are going to play Battlefield, enjoy it. I did cancel my pre-order because I am playing too many games right now, and Battlefield is not at the top of my list. I'll see what everyone is saying about it. Maybe I'll get FOMO and pick it up. We'll see. JD Gamer drops a very generous $5 Super Chat, but he does it twice. The first one of $5 says, let me make this clear. I'm tired of the same repeated nonsense Xbox guys run to repeat pony narratives. Just stop it. They're angry because of envy. I mean, it's what I said earlier. I do believe that Xbox is doing a lot of the right things for its fans. I think the brand is strong. Yes, they're not really selling a lot of consoles, and obviously the price increase is not going to help that cause. But to suggest that it's all over for Xbox is foolhardy at best. Xbox is going to be here. They are leading the charge in first-party development, something that they haven't done in a very, very long time. And that should be the narrative. If you are a PlayStation guy looking and poking fun at Xbox for raising prices on consoles and services, and you want to pile on the rabbit, maybe you should ask for PlayStation to be better. Maybe they should do some more services, give you more for your money. Maybe you should ask where the first-party games are and not be happy with one game per year. I'm just saying, like, you could easily look at the other side and say the same thing. We don't do that here. I enjoy gaming across the board, but I am an Xbox guy and will continue to be so. JD Gamer drops an additional very generous $5 Super Chat. Says, ponies want Xbox to be the little brother that gets slapped around, and that's not what's happening, so they keep changing the narrative. Mouse versus Mohill. Phenomenal point. The goalpost continuously gets moved for a narrative that it's never ending. Whenever they don't like what Xbox is doing, which is most of the time, they will change the game or change the narrative to fit theirs. And that's why they get blocked. That's why they get put on the pay no mind list. And that's why they don't get named on this show, because we're not giving any of those boobs any kind of credit. Void, Gamer by Choice, drops a very generous $2 Super Chat. It says, Crispy, right people are absolutely hypocritical.
That they are.
We also have Voidlock, who's been a channel member for over a year. So Voidlock, thank you so much for the incredible long-lasting support. He says Game Pass went from 45 first-party or first and third-party games a year to 75, just for an extra $10, a win for players without the other benefits. I mean, listen, they used the number 75. So what I think the community needs to do is make sure that they deliver on those 75 games. Do I believe they will? I do. I know that next year is going to be a incredible year for first party games. At any clip of the day, I can name 6 off the top of my head. If we get all 6 plus everything else, it is going to be worth its price of its mission. But I'm also never going to advocate for price increases. I just will never do that. But great point all around, Voidlock. Thank you so much for that. We have Nino Vistic, our generous friend all the way from Hawaii, who has gifted 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. That is very kind of you, as he's done so many times before. Aloha to you and the fam, brother. Thank you so much for that. Sir X-Men drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Infinite Umber Slumber, your new official new name. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That ain't right.
That's how you do me, Sir X-Men. Well, listen, get in line, though. The chat has been calling me Infinite Slumber for a while now. So.
For a minute. Yeah, it has been. Yeah. Listen, you know what? It's fine. It's that kind of brotherly love
Indeed.
that you get.
I take great pride in it. I am very pleased with the name. It's very clever, and it matches with reality. So
yeah, you work midnights, folks. So trying to do a podcast after midnight it's tough, folks. Try doing that. Try staying up and working all night, then come to talk for 90 minutes. You'll see if you don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
Hey, so I have to defend my brother. So we also have here Don Otaku. Hey, Don, what's going on, brother? Great to see you here. He drops, ladies and gentlemen, a very generous $10 super chat. Says, been too long, Boom and panel. Haven't been able to catch you live lately, but just wanted to send some love, brother. That is very kind of you, Don. And it's always great to hear you, not only in the chat, but we got to get you back on the show for sure. So thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and have a good holiday weekend. Look at me, the broke boy. I love that. That is really trolling all of the, I want to be important. I'm going to say something negative about Xbox. Nah, and that's just what it is. He says this after dropping a very generous $2 super chat. Tron Ares is awesome. Saw it last night. Going again. Yeah, I want to see that. That looks really good. It actually looks really good. When you see the critics beat it up, then it's good. Some of these movie critics like to smell their own farts. It's just embarrassing. Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for a whopping 39 months, bro. That is very kind of you, Tim. Super appreciate the generosity. He says, hey, everyone. Awesome panel and chat. Looking forward to Project Magnus. Have an awesome gaming Battlefield 6 weekend wherever you play, brother. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much again. And yes, a lot of people are going to enjoy Battlefield. I hope everyone does. And again, I keep saying this because of his past history. Battlefield has been in trouble for many, many years, and many iterations have failed. When and I say EA took, purchased Respawn, probably one of the best purchases in gaming. I'd like to equate that to something like the Insomniac Games for Sony. That was a really good purchase. Obsidian for Xbox, another phenomenal purchase. Well, for EA specifically, getting Respawn and having Vince Zampella run Battlefield, folks, I'm here to tell you, whatever that man touches turns to gold. And I expect that Vince Zampella's Battlefield 6 and the way that he decided that he wanted the teams to make this game is why it's going to succeed. So thanks so much for that. But JD Gamer drops a very generous $10 super chat. He says Xbox can deliver hit on hit on hit and force their closest competitors to put their games on their platform and adapt their ideology. You can find a pony or an ex-Microsoft executive anywhere around. Why? Yeah, I mean, the one thing you'll notice when it comes to this bad news is everybody comes out the woodwork trying to get on that Xbox hate narrative. Why? Why does Laura, whatever her name is, get out there? It's because she's an angry person that used to work at Xbox, and now there's negative Xbox news, and she'll come out and she'll be negative, and she'll get 56,000 views on her video, maybe even more by now. I didn't watch her video. I don't care what anything that woman has to say. It doesn't mean anything to me. But she's she was a part of the team that brought the Xbox to fruition. Good for her. Congratulations on her retirement, wherever she is. But yeah, I don't care what she has to say, honestly. And when you hear her, you can hear the bitterness in the back of her voice when she's talking. Again, I don't know what happened, and maybe she has every right to be bitter, but I don't care. And I'm not going to listen to any of her stuff along with a lot of the anti-Xbox community. That's why I've blocked most of them, because no matter what you say, and even when you give Microsoft smoke, you are accused of capping for the company, which has happened to me. And you know what? I don't care what anyone says. If you don't like the channel, don't listen to the work. That's all I can say. But gentlemen, I want to get into the big. Well, it's really big news. And again, folks, it's a rumor. I want this to be clear. Moore's law is dead. He gets things half right. He gets things right. He gets things wrong. Well, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is it's literally two tiers. One of which, if you guys and gals remember, there was a report last weekend that sent the interwebs into a unbelievable tizzy about Xbox leaving hardware. You see, we told you, Boom, they were not doing hardware. Folks, the fact that we actually had to cover that over the weekend was sad. You don't have a public traded company like Microsoft who signs a 10-year deal with AMD and announces it publicly to then pack up shop and decide not to make hardware. Ultimately, I've heard this from many people, and I will agree, it would actually cost Xbox more to not release it rather than actually come out with hardware. But we did have, towards the end of this week, some anonymous AMD engineers reconfirm that there is hardware coming out for Xbox and that they are currently working on it. Now, it is an anonymous source, so take it with a grain of salt. But I saw a couple of stories come up from purexbox.com, which I have already added. If you want to read it yourself, by all means, give them a click. But there is a particular page I'm going to use, and there are sites. They have their own website, but they're on Twitter. They're known as Xbox Originals. I've never really heard of them, but I am following them now. They have almost 45,000 followers. And they posted this. Now, again, this original leak comes from Moore's Law is Dead, right? Just so you know where the source is, and take it with a grain of salt. And I'm going to use what Xbox Originals had to say, because they did break it down into a very readable and understandable bullet point versus the Pure Xbox article, because they do go into like super technical details, which I'm not comfortable talking about because I don't really know tech like that. So I'm going to use what Xbox Originals had to say. And Korkenstein, according to this tweet, the Magnus chip, or the APU, is going to be one of the biggest next generation jumps in console hardware ever. And this is what Xbox Originals had to say. Rumor/leaks. Details of the Magnus APU from the next generation Xbox are as followed. It says largest ever seen in a console, 408 millimeter two chipsets, meaning it's going to have two chipsets within the box. The GPU apparently is 264 millimeters. That is going to support RDNA 5. The CPU is 3 Zen 6 plus 8 times Zen 6C. It goes on to say it's going to have upwards of 48 gigs of GDDR7 plus the MPU, which tops out is at 110 tops. The price is upwards of $800 for a possible hybrid console/PC. And this is now expected, according to this new rumor, to release in 2027. Cork, these are big numbers. Obviously, if you are someone that plays with power, like an Umbra, for instance, he has a monster-sized rig. There are a lot of people like Hargeet Chani that run 5090s, and every part of his box is high-end. because that's just who he is. He can afford to do it. Awesome, right? I'm a console guy. I've always been a console guy. I'm excited for this next version, if you will, of the consoles because it is going to be an open source box, at least for Xbox at next generation, versus what the PlayStation 6 is going to be. Now, granted, we don't know, but if we are betting kind of guys, the PlayStation 6 is going to be a very powerful console, but just be a more powerful PS5, meaning that it's going to play their games and that's it. Now, if that's good for you, awesome. But these consoles are going to be expensive. What Xbox is doing to differentiate themselves from the rest of the pack, meaning the Switch 2 and the PS6, is they will be releasing this hybrid box that sits underneath your TV that looks like a console but acts like a PC. That's where all these numbers are coming from. And apparently, it is going to be very powerful. And based on what Sarah Bond said last year, it appears that that is true. Let's get your thoughts on the recent rumor of the specs of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that a lot of this is going to be very high end, especially if what they're trying to do is that hybrid console. Where it's going to be able to run PC games as well as your console games, that kind of thing, multiple storefronts. It seems, I don't think that it'll be modular by any means, but it seems that, yeah, they're looking to really make this a definitive console, or at least hybrid console into the market. I mean, Sarah Bond did say that this was going to be what the most like technology, I don't know why I can't say that word. Most advanced console that they've ever done. And when you dropping specs like that, it makes sense. There are a few things I don't think they'll, 48 gigabytes of RAM. That seems pretty high. I would expect maybe 24. I mean, that's pretty much, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Maybe 32. Usually that's now the standard. It used to be like 16. But usually now 32 for gaming on PC is kind of the standard. So maybe they might, it's Microsoft, if they really are going to go kind of balls to the wall with this, hybrid console, I could see it. They're definitely, this could also be another situation where this is like a Series X, type machine. Maybe they might have a Series S type machine that might come out that might be a little bit lesser spec. So who knows what they're really going to do. I mean, if this is true, and again, it's like you said, Boom, sometimes he's wrong, sometimes he's right. These are all rumors. We haven't heard anything yet. I'm assuming probably this coming E3, maybe even this holiday. Usually they do like the announcements during the holidays, I believe, like of the year before, and then they spend the whole rest of the year hyping up the console and release and stuff like that. So maybe they might wait till this coming E3 or E3, I guess you could say, to see what they might do with it, make their announcement there. They did do the ROG Ally announcement, at the showcase this year. They may wait for the next console to do that announcement as well. It'll be interesting to see kind of where they go with this. I mean, that's definitely a beast of power right there. And if they are doing hybrid, I wouldn't expect nothing less.
I mean, look, if there's anything that most gamers will tell you, when you know what? Let me throw this out there. And I want to get the chat involved in this. One of the biggest narratives, Crispy Bomb, that we see is there are two. One, people are saying there's not that big of a jump to this generation from the last, right? You hear that a lot. Depending on who you talk to, some people are still waiting for it. Other people will say, it's a shame that we're moving to the next generation because these consoles that we have not been topped out. I want to get your thoughts on the numbers from the new consoles that are, again, this is the rumor, folks, so take it as such. But this sounds not only like it's going to be the most powerful console, or at least Xbox console that has ever released. It's probably going to be one of the most expensive consoles that Xbox has ever released. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, sounds pricey. Could say that much. I think the model of two separate, price point consoles I think it's starting to say, hey, like, I think it's a need if you're gonna do some kind of, hybrid version. I don't know how. I guess it should work fine because you got the ROG out there, so you should be able to still have your like our Series X still running for years after this. Even probably if you think about it, they probably are trying to make this last even all the way through the next gen, possibly, because we've gotten to the point where you're not getting a whole lot more than what you got last gen. And I think that's a point that even when you see that finally they're starting to take away a lot of games in this past, I'd say, year and a half that are going to release on last gen. So just think about that. We're already talking about the following gen, and it's like, wow, man. I think we're at that point where I think Xbox is looking at it and saying, we want to make a console that's going to not need an upgrade. And you kind of see that with the Series X and the Pro right now. The Pro's out there. People say, oh, it's way more power. Yeah, well, let's not debate about that, but let's just say they're pretty comparable. And there's a reason why Sony brought out the Pro. Okay. So if you look at it into this new gen, you got to realize that Sony's talking the same type of things that we've already seen Xbox do. Hey, we're going to bring out, some separate price points. So in realism, I just think, grain of salt is always good because we've always been promised a lot of things that we haven't gotten. So let's not, act like these numbers are set in stone or anything like that. The fact is that I feel like Xbox is trying to do the same thing they did this past gen and build at least the higher end of it, the console that does not need an upgrade down the road. And I think that's their approach. And I think at the end of it, I think these numbers aren't going to be too far off, but it's going to cost. I'm looking at it and saying, if I'm going to go into this new gen, it's going to cost me $1,000, which is just absurd. So, I love that I have my Series X. I think it's going to, when I'm ready to go, then I go, but until then, I think this thing is just going to be a great piece of hardware that you'll hopefully be able to get it at a cheaper price when they do launch this new console, but that's really all I got. I don't know enough about what is in this whole, leak that I would say, like, hey, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, because you just don't know right now. And I think we've been told things that never really happened so many times that we need to be cautious.
It's a fair point. So again, for some, again, theory building, right? Fuzzy Belvedere, we know that Sony, the rumor is they're going to have 3 SKUs, not even 2, right? Because there's a rumor that you're getting the PlayStation 6. Obviously, that's coming out. The PlayStation Portal 2 or the PSP 2 or whatever they're going to call their next handheld, that is also rumored. But there's one more, folks. There is a 3rd SKU that has been rumored to be coming out, and that is a cheaper Series S level model of the PlayStation 6. But I thought that was a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see. But I do want to bring up, use the article from purexbox.com where they have a YouTuber and person that posts a lot about anti-Xbox stuff. Zubitech, you know who I'm talking about. I got nothing to say bad about the guy. He's a PlayStation guy. He hates Xbox. Okay, awesome. But he did put out a post and he actually, I don't want to say he dumbed it down. It's more understandable about the chipset that we just read. And a lot of the tech stuff, folks, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know. Fuzzy does, for sure. Cork does. Definitely Infinite Umbra. Me, I'm like, yeah, is it more powerful? Yes. Underneath the TV? Let's go. Well, Zubitech said in a tweet, more information about the next generation Xbox APU Magnus. And again, folks, he dumbed it down. And I appreciate that because, again, it's more understandable for someone like myself that's not into building PCs. I'm just not. He says, according to Zubitech, and again, the article from purexbox.com, which has been added to the show notes, it says it's the biggest die size ever in a console at 408 millimeters. The Magnus die size is apparently, according to Zubitech, 46% larger than the rumored Orion chipset on the PlayStation 6. And he goes on to say it's going to be much more expensive than the PlayStation 6. Price could exceed $800. And in closing, die design is more similar to a PC chipset than any console before it. It's more of a PC than a console. I mean, again, yes, it sounds like it's going to be more of a PC than a console. It's a hybrid. It's probably less a console than anything before it, but that's because Xbox is moving in a different direction to bring more power to its players. They want more people to buy the box. That's why they're also going to have, OEM devices. But what's interesting about this is the rumor for Xbox for the over there isn't just this monster-sized box that's going to be upwards of $800. There is a rumor that they're going to have 2 SKUs like they did in this generation, where there's going to be a dockable S-like version, which makes sense. These are all expected to release in 2027, which is quite a few years away. But I want to get your thoughts on the power specs that apparently have leaked and why it's important to the industry.
I'm probably going to be the bearer of bad news. And I don't mean to be. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not the most tech savvy person, but I do pay attention to certain things. And I've learned a long time ago, anything that Moore's law says is a lie.
Yeah.
Period. And the thing that was the exclamation point for me on that was when he was saying PS5 was RDNA 3, when the PS5 was already in production. And the series consoles had not been finished or gone to full production because they were waiting for RDNA 2. So let's do the math. RDNA 3 comes after RDNA 2. How can something that's already made have something that doesn't exist when the previous version is just wrapping up? That tells you everything you need to know about this YouTuber. So that being said, he's gotten many things wrong before. Some of the things that stand out to me on this that just set off red flags for me is that it's RDNA 5. Why? RDNA 4 was in the most recent release for AMD cards. They were going to work on RDNA 5. I could be wrong, but the little bit that I paid attention, because I'm an NVIDIA fanboy more than AMD fanboy, so just to put that out there, I thought they were getting rid of RDNA 5 for UDNA. So the fact that UDNA is not mentioned tells me this is BS. I hope I'm wrong, but just for, crap and giggles or whatever, UDNA is supposed to be the most recent language that they're working on, especially considering that this is going to more than likely have an AI component, which they don't really go into detail about an AI component, which I know it will have an AI component because that's what we saw in the Copilot PCs. They went with Snapdragon as opposed to something through AMD, but all of that being said, that was the big push for the Copilot, Surface and other laptops and such. No AI really referenced in this, red flag. 48 gigabytes of memory, red flag. To put that in a console as opposed to something that's a swappable deal for PC would automatically put the price point somewhere at $400 just for the memory alone. What is it, GDR7, I think they may mention. Yeah, that's $400 at a minimum, and it's an oddball number, which, yes, shared memory, which the whole thing of them trying to separate CPU, GPU, it's an APU. They work in conjunction. It could be a bigger die. That's fine. I get that. But to go with the 3 nanometer and Zen 6, they're throwing a bunch of numbers and nomenclature that's recent that doesn't make sense for what they're telling you it's able to do. It's stuff that people are familiar with, but there's just a lot of stuff that isn't adding up. Like, I would believe 32 gigs. That would be a blessing for the next console to have. I mean, let's put things in perspective. The Xbox Ally X, badass machine. It's 24 gigs, and it's reasonably priced at $1,000. The Legion Go 2 is 32 gigs on the top end. That's what, 1,500? So you're starting to see if the big boy Legion Go 2 is 32 gigs, why is this 48? Does that make sense? And that's an APU setup as well. So it's going to be using shared RAM. There's a lot of stuff that's just BS in this, and I hope I'm wrong. All this wish list of stuff looks good. Some of it outdated more so than what I think would be in the next chipset with the partnership with AMD. RDNA 5 being mentioned in any of this just tells me somebody is making stuff up. It's UDNA is what they're working on. I don't see an AI component. That should be almost a separate chip in this if that's the case. I hope I'm not dashing anybody's dreams. Just put it this way. I'm expecting somewhere between 24 to 32 gigs next console. I'm expecting it to be a hybrid where it's console/PC. I'm expecting something that will be on par or basically a little bit above the second tier of the current AMD card. May not top out with the current AMD card, but something that can keep up with it, let's just say. I'm expecting something that will be able to deliver current gen games in 4K 60 pretty consistently, even if it's an upscale 4K. Ray tracing will be a little bit easier, although there'll probably be a lesser quality in comparison to some of the quality you see in 30 frame set games, much like your Hellblades. But all things considered, I know the next console is going to be much more powerful than what we have today in console specs. I expect it to be on par with a good mid-range PC. So if somebody's rocking a 4070 in their PC, I expect the next console to be comparable. Maybe not like for like as powerful, but comparable, where maybe the shadows aren't as crisp or the ray tracing isn't as crystal clear, or the specular highlights and particle effects are a little less in numbers kind of thing. But a lot of this stuff just screams BS to me. I don't know how else to put it. And the fact that it came from Moore's Law almost guarantees that it's BS. Like, remember when the supposed previous leak of whatever I guess it was Magnus Prime, I think was what the code name was. And they were talking about a AMD chipset that came up on the radar, and they were trying to say that was the PS6, but it was more likely what would be in the Xbox. I have to go back and look. Whatever that chipset was that came up on radar is more likely what we will see in the next console. This is just made up stuff, and I don't think they're the same, because if I remember, they didn't make mention of RDNA 5 because of UDNA being the new implementation. But I could be wrong. I could completely not know what I'm talking about on this, but I think we'll find out, let's say by Video Game Awards, how realistic some of this stuff is. I'm hoping they pull the same thing out of their playbook, what they did with the Series console. I mean, granted, they didn't show the Series S. That kind of got leaked thanks to Brad Sams and stuff, but the Series X was definitely shown. And they even showed us hints of Forza Horizon 5 with the car going around the cactuses and stuff, but we didn't really pay that much attention with not knowing that it was going to Mexico at that point. But all things considered, I know it's going to be a powerful console. I know it's going to rival mid-tier PCs for the time frame when it's released. I'm hoping it doesn't rival their pricing, because some of the stuff that they're listing here, even in mass production, like greater number purchasing,
$1,500 machine.
Yeah. You're and I know they could make a like what would be like in the car industry, we call it a Halo car. They could make a Halo console. I don't think they will. Just like the Surface is not necessarily the Halo laptop. The Surface is a very good laptop on par with like a MacBook kind of thing, but it's not the best of the best of the best of what you can buy out there. It's like the best combination of price per value kind of thing in comparison to like getting the same spec or similar spec with an Alienware. Not that I would trust an Alienware over a Surface, but if you want more memory, a larger, hard drive, you're going to have an easier time specking out the Alienware to your heart's content and spend $5,000 for what should really be $2,000 or 2,300 or something. But I just don't believe any of this. I mean, some stuff is just hopes and dreams level stuff, but I hope I'm wrong. We'll see. Clip this. I'm pretty sure Astro, whatever his name is probably clipping this. Yeah, just keep it on file. Save it in your pocket, and we'll look at this. Come November, December at the Game Awards, or maybe they show it at the June showcase next year, and we'll get more info that's accurate. I would say probably wait for that, but just know that it's going to be way more powerful than a PS5 Pro, and that, like I said, it'll be on par with a 4070 range PC at this point. Not really a 4080, not a 4090, not even a 5070, or I don't even know why they even make the 5060, and I forget what the numbering is on AMD cards, but they're RDNA 4 right now. They started to do RDNA 5. I think they trashed that for UDNA because everything has to have AI, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm done rambling. Sorry.
No. You're not rambling at all. As a matter of fact, you're making a whole lot of sense. Umbra, I want to bring you in regarding the hardware, and why I want to bring you in, and I'm very excited to hear what you have to say, is because you built your own PC and you understand the innards of what makes a good machine great.
Well,
again,
I want to interject that before somebody like, oh, Umbra lied. I didn't build a thing.
Oh, so you okay, there you go. You didn't build it yourself.
I bought this baby.
Hey, listen, if I was going to buy a PC, it was going to be pre-built. I'm not building anything myself. But you understand
that's how I thought,
what you wanted in the machine. So, needless to say, you got what you wanted. Again, based on what everyone has said, Moore's Law is dead. Has gotten it way wrong. Well, wrong more than he has gotten it right. So, hearing Fuzzy break it down, it does. I am not in a position to say that this person is lying. I'm not about that. This is what was reported, and it was an important enough conversation that it's coming up in almost everybody's feeds. People are talking about it. People are writing articles like Pure Xbox and a few others. We won't know the specs until Microsoft tells us. What we might actually see, though, and I think there were a few people on the panel that made mention of this, is in December, there's the Game Awards. Now, there is a heavy rumor that's floating around that Xbox has 2 things to show. I don't know what those 2 things are. That is the running rumor, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's safe to assume, like Fuzzy just said, will Xbox pull the same card that they did in 2019 when they showed off the Series X and Hellblade 2 at the Game Awards? Well, that is a suggestion that some people are making, and I'm expecting it. Am I going to be disappointed if that doesn't happen? No, because they didn't say it was happening. In my mind, I think this would be a good place to have it. And do I think it is going to be their own device? No, I do not. I think whatever this device that may get shown at the Game Awards is going to be the first OEM device, and I believe that is by ASUS. They're working with them right now. Next week, the handheld comes out in both flavors, both X and S, and obviously a lot of people are excited, like myself, who are getting it. But I think that the specs that we'll get at the potential unveiling of this new machine, this OEM device, will run parallel to what Xbox is doing. Now, maybe there's going to be some changes because there's going to be an OEM device next year and then the new Xbox device in 27. So things have time to change and get better and get cheaper for sure. But I want to get your thoughts on the latest rumors on these specs, because again, it does sound impressive, but it also sounds expensive.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this talk before. Once I've said it before, I'll say it again. Once we saw the PS5 Pro price, we should have known next gen was going to be. Everybody should have known then and there. that, oh yeah, next gen is going to be pricey, right? Like that was immediately I said that, most and people around me said the same. That's one. And two, they said it's going to be the highest technical or the biggest technical leap they've had in a console. So yeah, I think that to me added up to, yeah, this thing's going to be pricey. I love what I'm reading, right? I don't know how true all of this is, and I don't know if we ever did quite get the tools with this one here, but I'm still loving what I'm seeing. I just have to be honest. If this does pan out to what they're talking about, and it does have a crazy big die that people bring up, and it does have this gigantic 40 to 60% leap over whatever, yeah, sign me up, because I will buy it. Like I have or 30 to 40% more powerful, should I say. But I'm on PC now, but I absolutely will buy, the next Xbox, especially this one. And the things that I like that I'm reading about it, although I don't know how true it is, all outside of the Magnus APU, like that's confirmed that it's the Magnus. We just don't know all the other stuff around it. But yeah, something, having such what's the idea of that it could be modular, right? I like this, and I've spoke about this before in the past, I believe, to Keasanti elsewhere, and I said, well, could Xbox, I mentioned this, I said, could Xbox possibly, and I didn't know at the time the name would be modular. I was like, could they maybe have a console next gen where you can add much like a PC components to it to upgrade it, right? Like you would do on a PC. And at that time, people were like, no, they're not going to go that route. Well, that's what we're hearing here, that it's going to be modular. So if this, the rumor is that this might be the last Xbox, right? I think most of us are kind of in that boat. I know I'm in it. I know, Cork, I believe you were in that boat with me on that, where this may be the last Xbox console. Well, even though it may be the last console, if it's modular, it doesn't mean that's the end of the Xbox itself, because you can just keep upgrading it, right? The next gen for it essentially will be, you can just simply upgrade it. And maybe that may turn out to be cheaper in the end for people if it's just a matter of, hey, I can switch out this APU, right? I don't know how that might pan out. And maybe I'm being a little too wishfully thinking here, but I think that would be a really cool premise. The OEM thing, I mean, I'm pretty much sold on that. I have, it's a foregone conclusion to me, based on things I've heard, that even if this is the last official Xbox from Microsoft themselves, there still will be an Xbox. It just won't be necessarily directly from Microsoft. Now, some people will argue, well, then it's not really an Xbox. Yeah, it is. If they put their software into that and allow for it to play as an Xbox would, then it's an Xbox. Same thing where there was an argument, well, if it's more of a PC and it allows more, like for instance, like the ROG Ally, where you can move outside of gaming and actually use it as a Windows device. If it allows for that, then it's not really an Xbox. Says who? I ask. And I've had this debate with people, and one person in particular, like, well, it's not an Xbox then. And so I would have to ask, says who? If they're saying it's an Xbox and they are putting their tech into it, or at least their software into it, and you can get the same exact or not performance, but the same exact experience that you would off a typical Xbox, then it's an Xbox.
It's just
right?
another goalpost moving situation, because what you're ultimately saying, Umbra, is if Xbox and company A co-develop, meaning working together, it's a freaking Xbox, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. This is the same ridiculous conversation about the ROG Xbox Ally coming out. No, it's not an Xbox. It's a handheld PC. They can't play every game. PlayStation 5 can't play every game. Their handheld can't play every game.
That's true.
It's to me, again, it's one of those things that it's what we see with this community. When people feel that they're about to lose the argument, they flip the switch or switch to flip. and that's ultimately what is happening. Please continue, sir.
But you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's a bit of a goalpost move, and it's like, well, it's not really that, and you hit it right on the head. And I've had other people that pointed that out and said, well, PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4, for instance, can't play this. The PS Portal can't play that. Right? It's not playing anything natively. Is that also not a PlayStation device? Yeah, it is. Right? So people pick and choose, and it's not as complicated as some make it out to be. And honestly, even if that's their argument, let's say that's their argument. Let's say it's technically not an Xbox. Okay. So what then? Like, what does that change? Right? What does that change? It doesn't change anything. That's when you step back and listen to it, you're like, all right, I'll agree to that. It's not an Xbox. Now what? I'm still gonna play my Xbox games on it. Like, what does that matter to me, right? At the end of the day, it's such a stupid argument. It's so useless. And that's when you know they're just, taking on it and just finding some way to complain. But so yeah, I'm excited. I see these specs. I said this many times. I know I keep saying it, and it may sound like I'm just giving like platitudes or at least sounding positive. No, I'm actually very excited for next gen. I think it's going to be a crazy uplift as far as the technical leap where we're going to have. We're going to get because like you said before, Boom, some people did see this gen not being the leap that they thought it would be. I think next gen will be that, right? And that's what I believe personally. I know. I'm just wondering. The only thing I would ask is wonder how does it work with the whole AI part? Like, they're going. That's the biggest thing that they're investing in with the 110 tops NPU that they're speaking of, and I know it's supposed to maybe help with the acceleration of maybe the worlds that you load into, things of that nature, maybe background things, characters, NPCs. I'm just wondering how all of that fits into everything, because much like my brother Fuzzy here, I'm not the most technically adept person, but I just want to know, how does that all work out? Like, what can that be used for, the AI part? Because that's very clearly a part of what their future is AI. Microsoft has made no bones about it, right? Themselves as a company, but also the AI part was mentioned with the next gen console. So I just want to know, how does that all work out, and how did that play into delivering a better experience for us in the end? I just want to see how that works out. But I'm excited, and I think everybody else should be too. And also, you all might want to start saving. You all might want to start saving some money. Also, I would hope that, and I said this before, Microsoft will be wise, which they did do this gen, to have some type of payment plan situation, right? If we're going to be expected to pay upwards of 800 or more, depending on what they give us, then yeah, they should have a way for people to pay that off. Some type of, and it's going to sound crazy to say it like this, but some type of layaway-esque plan that you can pay into and maybe pay it off before the console drops, right? Like, think of it like at GameStop. GameStop did it. You can put, pre-order, at least you used to. I haven't been to GameStop in a long time, but you can pre-order from
your initial chunk of money down, and you show up at the store, and here's another 100.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So like, doing something like that, I think would be very wise. And I think PlayStation should do it too. You know what I mean? Just looking at, the cost of what these things are going to be, and the situation we're in economically, I think that would be very smart. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, listen, anytime you get new hardware, you're going to see prices increase. I think that the one thing we've learned from this generation is these companies are no longer going to take losses up front. They're going to make you pay for the hardware. And if you don't want to pay for the hardware, then you obviously will game on older systems. And I still think that, like, when these new consoles come out in 27, the PlayStation 5 and Pro and S and X are still going to be relevant. They're still going to be around, very similar to, in this generation, the PS4, the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One S and X are still relevant. People are still playing on those machines. How long these companies support these consoles after the new ones release is entirely up to them. But this has been one heck of a show. I hope that everyone did enjoy the conversation. If you did, hit the like button before you get on out of here. I do want to catch up on Super Chats, and I want to get everyone out of here so you can start your holiday weekend on the right foot. Obviously, Battlefield 6 is releasing. Shout out to Don Utaku, who drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. And he goes on to say, and I'm going to check this out because of you. Also, check out the Bubsy 4D demo. It's a better 3D platformer than Sonic, Astrobot, Crash, and any non-Mario 3D platformer in the last decade. I'm going to go buy it just based on your, because I'm a platform guy. I love platformers, and that's why I love the Astrobot so much. Is why I really got to get back into, and I bought it. I didn't even start playing it. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. Ah, my God. I need more time in the day, folks. But Don, thank you so much for the additional $5 super chat. We have another $10 super chat from Look at Me, the Broke Boy. He says, I have an anonymous source saying Sony is selling off PlayStation currently to the highest bidder. And the highest bid is a burger, fries, and shake from Five Guys. Just got an update too. Sony has counter offered asking for bacon on the cheeseburger. Brother, that is fantastic. You're not wrong. I mean, you are the Broke Boy Insider, at least aka the former Broke Boy Insider. Thanks so much for the generosity, willing to laugh. Pioneer in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat. It says the best value in gaming is a super console. Wow. I mean, they are going to be super consoles, but I don't know if they're going to be worth their. I mean, we'll have to see these prices. And I think Umber was onto something. For all jokes aside, I think it's a high ask. I think the ramifications of these powerful consoles are going to see less and less sales. And I'm not just talking about Xbox, folks. I know that there are some people in the PlayStation community, some of their, more louder members of PlayStation Nation think that the next PlayStation is going to be $500. I mean, folks, can we just do simple math? If the PlayStation 5 Pro is upwards of $800, what makes you think the PS6 is going to be $500? What are we even saying here, folks? I don't understand it. Where's the logic in that? They're all going to be expensive, which is why a lot of people are going to be priced out. Look, I mean, again, a perfect example of that is what happened last week with the Game Pass. There are people in the chat, in the games community, that are disappointed that and had publicly admitted they were priced out by this increase. That sucks, man. That just sucks all the way. So again, these next two pieces of hardware or multiple pieces of hardware from Sony and Xbox, they're going to be pricey, man. So like Umber said, start saving, man. Start throwing $100 every paycheck into your sock drawer and forget that it exists. I mean, that's the best thing I can say. Thank you for the generosity, Pioneer. We also have RBN in the chat. Drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says, I believe the PlayStation 6 is a Switch-like handheld, and that's it. Xbox winning the contract or the content war, State of Decay 3 will prove that gaming is more of a luxury now. I mean, I keep seeing that. That's a conversation that actually I've heard people say out loud, like gaming is or has become at least a luxury, but usually hobbies are, right? It doesn't necessarily mean what hobby that you're in. We're into gaming. That's what we're here for, right? But there are people that are into collecting statues like King. And these statues, if you didn't know, are upwards of $500 to start. So if you're going to buy a $2,000 Hulk statue, a World War Hulk statue, and there's another one that's going to come out that's $3,000, maybe you get priced out at collecting statues. I mean, the Hulk Buster I got over here, when I bought it back in the days, was $450, and that's small fries now. So great point all around, RBN. Thanks so much for the generosity, brother. Super appreciate you being here. We also have Jay in the chat, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, think about the development process, guys. If the new consoles play like a PC, then we will have less buggy games and faster development times winning. I mean, that's true to some extent. I don't necessarily know if it's less buggy because even PC has its problems. I'll put it to this way. I don't know how Battlefield 6 is going to react to its PC state when it releases later today. Hopefully there's no problems, but PC, I think has as many problems as console, sometimes even more. But maybe that will change with new generation hardware that's super powerful and processes things a lot faster and better. We'll see.
And
We
to
also
add
have
some context to that,
Sure.
they use the GDK, which when you're developed for it, you develop for both the PC and the Xbox basically at the same time. So you're not really, there's no benefit. You just optimize the architect for one system. And then when you want to add the Xbox ecosystem, it's like the GDK X or something. So yes and no, like it'll probably end up being the same bugginess for the most part.
Well, I mean, we will. Well, we're gonna see soon enough, and hopefully at the Game Awards, we're gonna get a glimpse of what the future looks like. I'm very excited for that. Look at me, the broke boy drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He says, "Didn't Moore's Law post Magnus specs thinking it was the next PlayStation? Then when we found out it was the next Xbox, he backtracked on it and or just deleted the post." I mean, again, this is a guy that gets it wrong as much as he gets it right, and unfortunately, I think his track record isn't great. But these are just leaked specs. You take all of this with a super grain of salt. When the specs are ready to be announced, rest assured, Xbox, PlayStation, and whatever the next Nintendo is going to look like, which is probably going to be as powerful as like a Series X or PlayStation 5 Pro, maybe in 10 years, we will certainly see. They're going to let us know. And obviously, the corresponding pricing for these things are going to be exactly what you expect, $1,000 boxes. I don't know how the gaming space survives under that, which is why I think the idea that Sony is doing a lesser powerful S model of the PlayStation 6, which was bad apparently, but now is good. Some communities will say such. But we'll see that if Xbox does release 2 SKUs for their next set of hardware in 27, one is going to be a less powerful, more affordable handheld that is dockable. It seems like that is the way to go. It makes sense. You get your handheld, but it's also, quote unquote, a hybrid home console that you just pop the thing back in its dock and you're playing on your TV. And it's a cheaper, more entry-level, affordable price. And I think all the companies should do that. Let's see. We have here a $20 super chat from Eternal Shaddai in the chat. Brother, that is very generous of you. Thank you for being here, Eternal. Great to see you in the chat again, and thank you very much for the generosity. He says the way Infinite Umbra is explaining about the next generation Xbox plus the price, it shouldn't surprise us because what we are hearing is another Steam machines of the past. Those machines came out from the gate were $1,200. And that was how many years ago, that Steam machine?
A long time ago.
5 years, maybe more than that. So if it came out at $1,200 back in those days, if you just go based on pricing, what are we getting? An $1,800 machine? There's no way that these companies are going to do that. They will literally price out almost only the hardcore of hardest core boys will be able to afford these things.
That was actually back in 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
Time flies. But yeah, like that tells you then, I mean, they clearly they thought they could come into the console space with a ridiculous price, but yeah, like we've evolved now, man. Like we've evolved to the point where now tech has to match the ambition of the games we want.
Indeed.
And we got to pay a price for it, and I think I will say it does. I did have the thought like, man, maybe it feels like Microsoft are edging people toward the old PC landscape.
It
right?
does. It does feel like that. You're not the only person to say that. That's an actual running conversation where it does seem like they're like, okay, we're moving away from console. We're going to have something like a console, but eventually we're going to move you to PC. That's certainly what it seems like. But look, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great, great show. Almost 2 hours, which is why we had to move the Halo topic to next week. But let's get everyone out of here. Corkenstein, I know you got to bounce, brother. Let's sell your brand. What you got going on with your channel or channels? More importantly, where people can subscribe to those channels and also follow you on socials, brother.
Yeah, big thanks to everybody here in the chat, and to Boom and to Umbra and Crispy and Fuzzy. Thanks, guys, for the awesome conversation. Thanks to everyone in chat. You guys are awesome as always, having great discussions. You guys can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads at the Korkenstein. That's usually where I am. We're a little bit on hiatus. Our other host for Game Pass Gumbo is going to take a little social media break. So I'm not sure when we're gonna get something up. So that's a little pause. And then I talked to some of the guys at Xbox Talks, and they're like, "Yeah, we're cool if you switch the channel over to Korkenstein Gaming."
Nice.
So that might be something coming pretty soon. Like I said earlier, it's so I don't know how you do it, Boom. You're a legend just to create content with all this like disparaging and negative news. It's so like just soul sucking to me. It's like I really want to create something cool, but it's just if I'm not hating, I'm not getting clicks, it seems like. So I don't know, it's really weird in that space, but yeah, hopefully I can get that started and built up.
First of all, thank you so much for the kind words. Look, I have on many times, when you create as much content as I do, which is I'm syndicated, right? I have Monday through Friday. We missed a day yesterday. It was the first day that we took off, so to speak, a sick day. And I had 25 DMs. Hey, what happened to the show today? Because people expect you to be there. And of course, we were just so down and out. I didn't even get a chance to answer them until we got up. We're still under the weather. You can hear it in my voice. I'm still not 100%, not even close. But it has been a little difficult because and it's really your audience. Like this audience, first of all, we had almost over 700 people watching live. And I think a lot of the people that do watch are Xbox fans, and they want to come to a space that's positive. Like Paris said in the beginning, it's super easy to be negative, but it's very difficult to strike up conversations where you are diving into something, you are questioning what has happened or transpired, but you also find a way to still not quote unquote cap for the company. You can still be excited about the brand. And I think that is something that needs to happen because, again, social media and more specifically, a lot of the covering channels have been that way. But Crispy Bomb, let's sell the brand, brother. Where could people reach out to you and more importantly, follow you on social media, especially to get those receipts?
At Crispy Bomb on X, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live. You can find me Monday. I'll be there. And Fuzzy, you want to do your outro there, sir?
Sure. It was awesome being on here with you guys. Love talking about the gaming industry as a whole and interacting with everybody in the chat. Love this hobby. Love talking about it. And this is going to be, unfortunately, a busy weekend where I won't get to play as much Battlefield 6. But I'll definitely try to be on. So if you see me on there, join up. I'll probably be playing a lot with the Fun Spec fam or anybody that's on. Just group up or squad up, and we'll have some fun. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. There will be no Fright Night with Ferocious Fee tonight. I'll put a link for the episode where we talked to the group that we're actually going to the haunted theater tonight. So,
nice.
Knock on wood.
Man.
Hopefully, I make it back safe. I don't get possessed or something. But it's going to be a paranormal activity investigation where this group, Astral Paranormal, spent the night or a couple of nights over at this theater that's been famously haunted, and they had some technical issues with the camera and some banging doors that scared somebody away and some other strange, unexplainable events. So definitely keep an eye out for future updates on that episode, as well as the episode I'm going to put in the chat for the link. But have fun this weekend, play some games. Try not to doom scroll on social media so much. There is a lot of negative energy out there. Just play what you like, enjoy gaming, spend time with family. Watch some horror movies while you're at it because it is October.
Yes,
and this is the month to do that.
October. Yes, there you go. It's your month for sure. This is and you love horror. Again, Jason Voorhees has been added to Call of Duty, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's gonna be some people that boo on that, but I love all these ridiculous skins. It's fine. But appreciate you being here. For Infinite Umber, let's sell the brand, brother. Where could people check out the fix with you and Daniel McGee, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as follow you on social media?
Yes, indeed. Shout out to all the panel here. Boom. Hope you feel better soon. I saw some of that chicken noodle ramen soup. Was it? I saw.
That was delicious, dude. I scarfed down the whole thing because I hadn't eaten all
A
day.
different concoction right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you feel better. Yeah. Shout out to Mrs. Boom for the fusion meal, if you will. Cork, same with you. I'm not gonna go further than that, but yeah, Fuzzy, always great to talk with you, brother, and then Crispy, of course. And shout out to the chat. You all are great. Nothing but love for you all. Yeah, so as far as myself, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you'll find me either way. And Thursdays, as Boom mentioned, typically the I almost said the Xbox Factor. The fix. My days are off right now. So we didn't go live yesterday. I had some things to do, unfortunately. I'm thinking about having a special show tonight, though. I may do that. I'll see. I have a few things I want to do tonight as well. And I picked up the new game, Absalom, which dropped. Which I think
is that a side-scrolling beat 'em up, right?
It's a side-scrolling beat 'em up / roguelike.
On everything except for Xbox. One of those.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what the future the future will correct that. That's the beautiful thing about next gen. Like all of that is going to end officially right then and there. So that's another thing I look forward to. That stopping. So yeah, Absalom and I'm also playing Judgment, made by RGG Studios. Getting through that, I'm almost at the end of that. So I have deviated from some other. I got other games I got to get. I hate saying I got to get to because it sounds like a chore when you say it that way. But we, it's so many games that we got this year, man. It's ridiculous. Like I'm trying to go through backlog as well as play these newer games. We got Ninja Gaiden 4 about to drop soon. We got
Outer Worlds
Keeper.
2.
We got Outer Worlds 2. Yeah, it's like ridiculous. It's a lot. Yeah. But yeah, Absalom, I'm going to get into that too today and play some of that. But yeah, like Fuzzy said, I mimic that. Go and play some games y'all enjoy, and don't let these hooligans get you down on Twitter. You're better than that. But no, you all have a good one.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely, and thank you for joining us here. Obviously, you weren't feeling so good on Tuesday, so it's great to have you here, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to do it for us. A big thank you to all of the super chats, gifted subs, and channel memberships that happen behind the scenes. Mrs. Boom and I do greatly appreciate it. We do have Mrs. Boom's birthday bash happening the week of November 1st when her birthday hits. We're giving away $300 once again of digital cards. This time around, it's gonna more than likely be Xbox because it's what we can get, and I'm sure a lot of people will use those towards their Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. But we'll give more information as we get closer to November. But a big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Before you get on out, folks, hit the like button. And again, if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel. Mrs. Boom and I are now on the hunt for 17K, and you, fine folks, can get us there by simply subscribing. But of course, I'm going to close the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day will be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And it would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.